This is the 80s Show on iHeartRadio.
Say ho, ho, say ho, 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 ho. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Say ho, ho, say ho, whoa, ho, whoa. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show.
I wonder if I should start leaving passive-aggressive notes in the studio. Always something different going on in here. Always some fun little surprise as to why things aren't going to work the way they ought to work whenever I get in here. I don't know who comes in here and changes stuff. I don't know who does what. All I know is there's always some minor disaster, especially on a Monday, and I don't know what people do in here on the weekends, but come on. I was thinking maybe I should just leave passive-aggressive notes the way I've seen other people do. Like morning shows, please zero the board after you're done using it. And some like incompetent board op who got lit up by a morning guy for having a wrong button press because he couldn't be bothered to do his own job. Maybe I should leave one of those. Now, maybe I shouldn't leave a passive-aggressive note. Maybe I should just leave an aggressive note. It'd be honest. It'd be exactly how I felt. If I find out who's been changing my settings and not putting them back the way they're supposed to be, I'll come in here, I'll rip off your own arm, and I'll use it to beat you to death with. It wouldn't really be the Christmassy thing to do, though, so maybe I'll give that the big miss-a-roo. Today in the show, why you're probably not getting a Christmas bonus. Right now, though, after having ranted and raved and talked about how I wanted to do grievous bodily harm to people that had the audacity to move a button, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about dark moments in life. We've all had them. We've all had those moments where it's just like, oh, come on, man. I give up. Look at this set of circumstances. Look at this hand I've been dealt. I give up. And you know what? There's times where people could take a look at your set of circumstances and look at the hand you're dealt and 100% understand why you're giving up, being like, yeah, that's an unwinnable situation, isn't it? I'll give you an example. A couple years ago, I was trying to do anything to not have to sell blood to make rent at the end of the week. And more than qualified, my ratings and my performance and all that sort of stuff spoke for themselves. And there were a couple different things I was interested in doing. At some point, I was interested in doing anything that would get me, sort of like to a point where I could maybe pay my rent, not go into debt, working 16 hours a day. When you're working 16 hours a day and going into debt, that's a warning sign. You could be going, hey, look at this hand I've been dealt. That's not a workable situation. And I honestly felt like it wasn't. There was an upside to it, though.
You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away. Time won't stop, but I'll stop time to run.
The guitar really was the foundation behind many of Led Zeppelin's albums.
It was guitar driven. It was guitar driven. I think that's quite apparent throughout all of this. When we're revisiting and listening to this stuff, and quite surprising for a lot of people. It was also the first, 4 albums were written on acoustic. You can hear the acoustic with Baby I'm Gonna Leave You. I mean, that's very radical compared to what anybody else was doing around that sort of time. But it's acoustic, and there's acoustic on Ramble On, etc. On the second album. Third album, it's the same guitar that I'm writing it on. It gets really played a lot on the third album, and it's the same guitar that plays Stairway. So you can see the acoustic guitar was quite the bed underneath this, although it's still 6 strings, and my various approaches to the electric guitar was still shown within the writing process and what was presented to the band, and this is what we're doing,
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Jimmy Page and all your favorite artists.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Fitz and the Tantrums to find out what their success means to them.
Our entire experience of being together has been a dream come true. A lot of bands don't get this opportunity. So every day we sit in gratitude, because we could still be singing at the Hotel Cafe. You know what I mean? So we feel very fortunate. And we hope that we inspire other artists that are on the come up to do the same thing, to never say no, to work, to
not giving up.
Yeah, not getting out of line and just, holding it down for themselves and their love for their craft.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Fitz and the Tantrums and all your favorite artists.
Hey, you, what's that sound? Coming so loud from your radio dial. ADV, get it down when you're rocking the jams. Here I am, going back once again. I'm ruling all city like a king I am.
So, there's all sorts of situations, all sorts of times in your life, all sorts of hands that you can be dealt that just seem unwinnable. Where you can say to your friends, your family, your loved ones, be like, this is a situation. And they can look at it, assess it, and go, you know what? You're right. It's unwinnable. And you have every right to want to give up and every right to want to bail and every right to feel horrible about life, the universe, and everything. A couple years ago, I felt so stymied. And it was like a fairly common situation to be in, I think. I hadn't talked to too many people that had dealt with it. At least not in my immediate vicinity. But it seemed like a fairly common situation to be in. Passed over for promotion. What the hell? My performance is awesome. I've been here for a long time, and I would like to work a 16-hour day the way I am, yet not have to sell blood to make rent at the end of the month. And it just seemed... it seemed like an impossible, unwinnable situation. There was a time where I felt like I wanted to move back to England. I was just like, ugh, nothing's ever going to get done in this country. It's just not. It's broken. It's a broken system. America's broken. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go back to England. I'm going to go to Canada, where at least I stand a snowball's chance in hell. And at the time, what was happening was, for pretty much every avenue of employment that I was looking at, I got beat out by someone who was A, not white, B, not male, 9 times out of 10. And I felt, probably justifiably so, and beat out by people that lacked a lot of the experience and know-how and ability that I had. I am a believer in the idea of a meritocracy. I believe that if your work is better than someone, well, and then to you go the spoils. And I knew my work was better. And I knew my work was certainly better than people I was losing out on gigs to. And people adopt these narratives to get themselves through difficult times. And it's very careful what you do when you're adopting said narrative. In my particular case, I was like, you know what? America's a mess. It's too PC. All my tax dollars are going to pay for illegal immigrants who break their arm, take advantage of our school system and our medical system. And in the meantime, I'm struggling with health insurance. And I'm being passed over for jobs because I'm too male and I'm too white. That used to be an advantage at some point in the game, but I see a lot of affirmative action mistakes being installed into positions that I'm pretty interested in, and I just don't get it. This is what I was telling myself. And you know what? Absolutely every last point I was making to myself was probably completely true. That didn't change the fact that while it was true, it did one very damaging thing to me to think that way. And that was, it affected my sense of optimism, my outlook, my sense of hope, call it faith, call it whatever you want to call it. And those times where you lose hope, where you look at the cards you're dealt and you go, this is an unworkable situation. This is hopeless. Those are the times where, for me, and I'm guessing for you, those are going to be the darkest periods of your life. Now, the circumstances cannot be changed. They just cannot. You feeling ratty because you got passed over for a promotion by someone that was less qualified for the job is not going to change the fact that they got the gig. Or whatever unwinnable situation you're dealing with in your life, whatever set of unplayable cards you've got, those are the cards you're dealt with. And you cannot change those. Not immediately, anyway. What you can change, the one thing you do have control over in these particular situations is how you look at the world, your attitude, the story you write for yourself when you wake up in the morning, your sense of hope, your sense of faith, your sense of optimism. And those things make all the difference. Because you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the hand you've been dealt. It doesn't matter the place you're starting from. It doesn't matter how far down you've gotten. There's people who have been further down and gotten back up and gotten further than probably you and I ever will. Malala Yousafzai, the 17-year-old girl, shot in the head by the Taliban for speaking out about education. 17-year-old girl shot in the head for speaking out for education, knowing that it was probably going to cost her her life. 17-year-old girl. Recently won the Nobel Prize. Best-selling books left, right, and center. Now, whatever place you feel like you're starting from, or whatever place you might feel like you're at the moment, I would be shocked if it was equal to or greater than being shot in the head by the Taliban for speaking out about how learning is a good thing. Maybe it is, but it doesn't change the fact that things can change. Things can turn around. Things can change overnight, on a dime, almost immediately sometimes. You could be right around the corner from it. But you'll never know. You will never know unless you have your hope, your faith, your optimism. And it doesn't have to be faith in a creator. It doesn't have to be faith in anything other than yourself. And if you do have a creator, know that he or she put the tools that you need to turn your situation around or to just improve your situation. Maybe you're doing great and you're just annoyed because you want to do greater. I know it's not really a word in this situation, but I think it describes it. Maybe you want to do better. Maybe you want to be greater than you are now. And you just feel like you're not getting anywhere. Maybe you're spinning your wheels. You can't control the situation. You can't control the hand you're dealt. You can't control all the circumstances. The only thing you have the power to control is your state of mind. Helen Keller, someone who once was, well, I think we would all agree, an animal that was caged by being blind, deaf, and mute, who went on to have numerous college degrees and a life, and not only a life, but a storied life full of tremendous accomplishments. Helen Keller, who was once, like I said, an animal caged by being blind, deaf, and mute, said, optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. So, as you start your week on this Monday, where things seem to be darker and more dreary than they usually are throughout the rest of the week, remember that. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Today, hopefully, we will confidently deliver a winning radio broadcast. Right now, though, let's take a look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair. Certainly not balanced. Funkhauser, how are you? And what is going on? You have a good weekend?
I did. I went to a boat fair parade with Christmas lights on it.
Uh-huh.
And watched them go incredibly slow down the marina.
Uh-huh.
With my sweetie, and it was a good time.
Uh-huh.
That was my Saturday night.
Is the sweetie feeling better? Like she's recovered?
Yeah.
It's not Ipecac style coming out of both ends anymore?
No more Montezuma.
No more Montezuma's revenge?
Yeah.
All the